today I will be demonstrating how to use the Diva Pro Styling IDS straighteners to create a multitude of different looks. My signature technique is the Hollywood Volume Beach Wave collaboration, which I will be showing you today. To prep the hair, I like to use a heat protectant before blasting it off and drying it, and then again before you start using your IDS straighteners, so that we can keep the hair nice and healthy and shiny throughout the process. Saturate the hair really well and brush it through and smooth it out before you start heat styling. I am going to show you two different methods just on a strip at the back, so you can see the difference between the wide plates and the narrow straighteners and the different way that it can create volume on different lengths and different thicknesses. First, I will be using the wide plate straighteners. I really love these for really big, glam, lived-in kind of wave, and it works especially well on really thick hair and helps you get through it really quickly. I would normally recommend taking a pretty thick section when using the wide plate straighteners because they can actually get through it. And when you put the straighteners in, you immediately want to curl and pull straight down. So turn the straighteners 180 degrees, then pull straight down vertically, and that's going to give you a nice consistent wave throughout the hair, which will look a little bit different once combed out. So that is the wide straighteners. Now I will be showing you how to use the narrow straighteners. You can decide if you want it more bouncy, you can take bigger sections. If you want it slightly more separated and textured, you can take smaller sections, but the same rule applies. Turn the straighteners as soon as you insert them and then pull straight down. And if you want it even more lived in, you can actually leave the ends out completely. You can see the difference. This gives you a little bit more of a rounded look, where this is slightly more separate. For the second look, I'm going to create a really lived-in, effortless, basically what you'd wake up with in the morning, a slight soft bend in the hair, kind of what you see on the celebrities that looks undone. So when you're creating this, you're just bending the straightener backwards and forwards. And I would say the white plate is going to give you a slightly softer version of that, that looks really, really natural. With the narrow IDS straighteners, you can get a slightly more crimped version of this by doing the exact same technique, and you can decide if you want to take big sections or small sections and tilt the straighteners forward and backwards down the hair to create a nice soft looking natural wave. Now that I've showed you the two different methods of creating curls and waves with the IDS straighteners, I'm going to show you how I do my signature volume beach waves. First, I like to start off by sectioning the hair into two sections down the middle, and then you can do about 2-inch wide sections through the bottom. I prefer working horizontally and making my way up. For the most part, these waves last about 4 days, or at least until you wash your hair again. So I prefer to start them off a little bit tighter so that they last really, really long for your client and you don't have to restyle your hair and use more heat. I like to take pretty big sections when I'm doing this because that's going to give you even more volume, and insert the straighteners right at the root to smooth the hair out and immediately turn and point them downward. When you get to the ends, you want to go really, really quickly so that you keep them really nice and straight and you don't have to reapply heat. If you smooth the hair really well, you won't have any frizzies at the bottom and you won't have to apply any heat to them. I like to point my curls away from the face, depending on what kind of look I'm trying to create. But normally, to create a bit of a contour around the face, I prefer to pull them always outwards, meeting in the middle at the back. Again, turning them, pointing them straight down, and then going really quickly over the ends so that it still keeps the ends nice and straight and smooth. And that's what's going to give you a bit more of an effortless, lived-in look. So again, the movement is putting the straighteners straight in, getting the roots nice and smooth, and then slowly pulling down and going really quickly over the ends. If you're still getting used to this motion of keeping your wrist nice and smooth, I would recommend using a really low temperature and doing it nice and slowly. It's better to go slowly on a low heat than really quick on a fast one anyway. It's best to just keep it nice and smooth and not hesitate when you're turning. The wonderful thing about using straighteners to create waves is that you have a lot of control over where you want the contour. So I like to immediately twist them because I want a bit more movement around the face and less on the ends, keeping more of the length of the hair even though you've got some movement to it. For a lot of clients, when their hair is wavy or curled, they feel like it looks really short and bunchy around their face. So this allows you to keep a little bit more softness and still have movement. In order to get the waves to perfectly fall into one another, I like to turn the straighteners as soon as I put them in and pull it straight down. I like to use the straighteners on 170 or 190 degrees depending on the texture of your client's hair. If it's really fine, it's best to use it on 170 even with heat protectant. And as I mentioned, it's best to go slower on a low temperature than fast on a high one. That little bit of time that you're spending on the bend is what's going to make it last a couple of days. Each time I section out another inch of the hair just above the previous section. The reason why I like working horizontally is because I can see exactly where the waves are going to fall into one another so that the bend is in around about the same place all over. Now I'm moving on to the other side of the head where I will still be turning the curls away from the face. Stay tuned to see the end result when I get to the front section. Now that I've finished the rest of the hair, we're moving on to the front bits. These are always the most complicated, but my favorite way to do it is to pull the hair towards the nose and over direct it slightly, and then put your straighteners in, same rule applies, turn them and pull them down straight vertically, and that should give you a really nice contour around the cheek and just open the hair up to give you a faux curtain bang effect. My top trick for making your waves last extra long is to let them cool down in their individual locks and then give them a really good spray with a light hairspray, nothing too heavy, we don't want any stickiness. And then as soon as that's cooled down, brush them out gently, dressing the waves out. Don't be afraid of brushing, it's not going to make them go away. It's just going to help them mold into one another. And once you've brushed those out, you can get rid of the flyaways by spritzing and then brushing immediately over them. This is the finished result of the lived-in waves created with the Diva Pro Styling IDS straighteners, giving you waves that last days and days and get better and better each time you sleep on them.